the man just said, the way you and your wife you behave, that's the way me and my wife too do. That's the way we behave. And the woman said, we don't do like that. And the man was like, what do you mean? He said, do I know how much you earn? Abi said, do I know how much you earn?
Yes.
The woman was telling the man, you say we do like that. Do I know how much you earn? The man said, how can you know how much I earn? When you collect your salary and you just be buying things and say, surprise. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. But working together is success. Today, we'll be looking at signs you are growing together as a couple. Because if your marriage is healthy, you are not supposed to be growing apart. You are supposed to be growing into one another. And today, I will be discussing this with my co-host, Margaret Olabisi Okoro. You're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
As we talk about growing together as a couple, one of the foundations that we want to lay is that growing together as a couple involves understanding your connection with each other. The more we know each other, the more we can help each other to grow. The more we know each other, the more we can help each other to grow. Without that, I can't grow who I don't know.
Yes.
And that also requires that we do an assessment
of each other. I did a good assessment of you, knowing your strengths, knowing your weakness, knowing your lapses. You also were taking out, and don't use my weakness against
you. You understand? You also were looking at my lapses, not to use it against me, but to use it for me. Because until you diagnose, you can't prescribe. Number one sign is that you communicate more effectively. You communicate more effectively. You communicate freely. Your communication is unhindered. Now, like you said on one of our episodes, that doesn't mean becoming a talkative, because good communication is fundamental in growing together as a couple. Over time, you should find yourself handling discussions about tough subjects with more ease and understanding. It doesn't mean you always agree, but rather that you are both committed to expressing yourselves. Now, growth is not just numerical growth, though. Some people would brag about, we've been married for 30 years, but have you really grown? Are you growing together? Both of you together. We are talking about the marriage now. Both of you together. And now, the communication doesn't always mean that you agree. But rather, you are both committed to expressing yourselves clearly and listening to each other. Like when I was growing up, the women in our community, all those women say, some men are like that. Some women are like that. They speak and they don't expect a feedback. So signs that you are growing together is that you communicate more effectively. And effective communication starts with you speaking. And then your hearer understanding. And that's why sometimes you see people say, my spouse didn't get it. And I say, you didn't say it. Say, no, I said it. I said that you didn't say it well.
In such a way.
In such a manner.
That he will understand.
That they will understand it. Because you have to, if you are communicating.
That's communication.
That's communication. Communication is not communication until the person you are speaking to understands. So a major sign that you are growing together, not growing apart, is that you communicate more effectively. Secondly, you support each other's goals. There is so much selfishness going on in marriages today. I met a banker, I will never forget, years ago. We were having fellowship in a church, and this banker came to see the pastor. But unfortunately, he didn't meet the pastor. So when he saw that I was also a pastor, he decided to speak to me. When he was speaking, the moment he started speaking, he started crying. And I was wondering,
why?
Guy, young, fine guy, that me, I was even admiring because he came with, as a banker, lovely official car, unbranded car though, cute guy with lovely suit. He started crying. I said, what happened? He said, my marriage. I said, how long have you been married? He said, less than 1 year.
1 year.
I said, 1 year, less than 1 year marriage is what you are crying about. I said, what happened? He said, my parents-in-law, is it parents-in-law? The in-laws, Abi?
Yes, parents.
Said they want to kill me. That's the way he started his story. I said, what happened? He said, they put so much pressure on him. You know, he was courting this particular lady. They were both bankers. And the lady's parents are professors, professors. So he wanted to brag to them that he could take care of the girl. He said he was making all kinds of crazy promises. Promises like, don't worry, by the time you are having our first child, I'll buy you a car. So he said the money he borrowed for the wedding, he has not even finished paying. He said, now. I said, so what is making you cry now? The lady wanted to do fibroid operation. The guy said in his organization, the bank where he works, they have an HMO. And their HMO happens to be one of the best hospitals in Lagos. But the parents-in-law said he must bring the girl to University of Ibadan Teaching Hospital. He now asked them that that our HMO doesn't cover University of Ibadan. Who will pay? He said, you, of course. I said, so, but you know what the guy told me? He said, this lady, that is my wife, never supports anything I do in my life. I said, you don't mean it. He said, I started a business. My wife said he was going to be giving me a certain amount every month to grow the business. He said, every month, before I get it from my wife, he's wrestling. He said, but now she has stopped giving. Then he said something that even broke my heart. He said, I made the biggest mistake marrying this lady. So there's a particular lady I was dating in my office, but because she's not the
professor,
she's
not the daughter of
an influential family. Said, but this business I'm talking about, this lady gave me $500,000 to support me. She gave me what my wife couldn't even give me. So there are so many marriages where it is either the woman is doing her thing and neglecting the man, or the man is just doing his thing and neglecting the woman. It's a sign that you are growing apart.
Let me do my own thing and you do your own thing.
I'm telling you. And then when you ask them, the next thing they tell you is that we've been together for 20 years. Now, it's not, see, you can be together for 20 years and be growing this way. And you can be together for 5 years and just be growing this way.
That happens with my parents. You know, at some point, they were going to church together. My dad stopped.
Why?
He said somebody offended him in the church. So it was my mom and now started going with us. Thank God for that. My father didn't go back to church.
Till he died.
He didn't. In fact, my mom would force him at times. He would go at times. Times he won't go, but he didn't want to go anymore. So my mom had to leave him, then continue going, and then taking the children.
You know, when we talk about supporting each other's goals, a lot of the time the man thinks that, yes, it is the responsibility of the woman to support his goals, his, career move, hobby, personal development, seeing you, grow as a person. But as the man, it is also my responsibility. It's your responsibility to grow your wife. It's your responsibility to grow your wife. And when you don't help your wife grow, that's why in most cases, the
man will be growing.
The man will be growing and the woman will not grow. You understand? I saw this a lot growing up. You see a lot of Igbo men that will call their wives Obiageli, Obiageliako. Obiageliako simply means, let me interpret, eater of wealth. That I brought this one in to eat my wealth. So, and when you see the Obiageli, you will really know, because they will bring her in like this. Then after some months, you will have developed that thing they call, what they call that thing?
Christian
mother arm. You will have a jogo by her hand like this.
What's a jogo?
Extra meat.
Extra meat
by the arms.
Upper
arms. And they will put her at home and feed her to stupor. And I saw that. then some of them will call the woman OBD. OBD means my heart.
My heart.
But none of those things really make sense because every human being has dreams and aspirations.
Yes. They will suppress the woman's dream and aspiration.
Number 3, you make decisions together. Making decisions together shows that you are growing together. You know, we were sitting with a couple one day and, you know, I think we were playing. I don't know what we were doing. And the man just said, the way you and your wife, you behave, you know, that's the way me and my wife too do. That's the way we behave. And the woman said, we don't do like that. And the man was like, what do you mean? He said, do I know how much you earn? You know, Abi said, do I know how much you earn?
Yes.
The woman was telling the man, you say we do like that. Do I know how much you earn? The man said, how can you know how much I earn? When you collect your salary and you just be buying things and say, surprise. We were with that. At some point, we had to tell them, it's okay. He said, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. You buy. Do I know how much you to earn? Said this more money that I'm earning. The woman earns more than the man. So the woman said, you want me to add my money to your? I can never bring it. At some point we were like, what did we even do that made these people? But you see, and
that was even our
very early years in marriage. We were like, we were not even up to 2 years in marriage then.
I don't think so.
We're not. So when both partners are involved in decision making, it signifies that you are growing together as a couple. I watched a video the other day. I still watched it this morning. Yes, I still watched it. I had to go and download that video again. There's this man called Isaac Watterson. Is it Isaac Watterson? Yes, Isaac Watterson. He's a biographer.
Okay.
They said he followed Steve Jobs for so many years.
Oh, okay, that you were sharing with
I was sharing with you. Followed Steve Jobs for 2 years before he wrote Steve Jobs' biography. You know, and he said one day he was asking Steve Jobs, you know, that what out of all the products, the iPad, the iPod that you created, which product do you love the most?
The most.
Now the man was talking about products. He was asking Steve Jobs.
Yes.
You created Macintosh, you created iPod, you created iPad, you created iPhone, you created. Instead, Steve Jobs said the product that he created that he loves the most is the Macintosh team. The man said, you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm saying the product that you created from your company.
He said it's the team.
He now said it was the team.
That's the best.
The best product that he created was creating the team that created all those products. He said, without,
you can imagine.
He said, without me assembling that sound team, he said, forget the product. You know, I laugh when I see a man praying that God should lift him up, and yet he doesn't bring his wife into the decision making. Look at the podcast that we are doing today. If I was told that this is the real product that we are going to be pushing in terms of ministry wise, I wouldn't believe it. Because for years I've spoken on so many issues, so many things, but never marriage. And suddenly God began to open my eyes to see. And if we don't make decisions together, if we don't allow each other, and it's vice versa.
Of course.
Some women too don't allow their men put their mouth in their matter.
They don't.
Number 4, sign that you are growing together is that you trust each other more. You trust each other more.
Like that time that I was pregnant, you know, I've had 3 miscarriages. I think it was the second evacuation. They said we should go to the army.
No, we went to
the army hospital,
Montgomery General Hospital. That was where we went first.
Yes, and
the crowd
there
was crazy.
And then you were like, you know, it was that time that you are very impatient with.
Was I impatient?
Very, very.
But I saw the crowd. The crowd was this long.
For me, I would have waited because of my life because I know they can help me here. But you were like, no, we can't. You can't.
Because I went and told them that your case is emergency.
And they said everybody
and
there
they
is
said
emergency.
everybody there is emergency.
I would have
said, how
still
can
waited.
everybody here be emergency?
I would have still waited. But you were like, we should go now. And to that hospital. Now, I don't know them. I've never had any experience with military hospital
But
or something.
I've had.
But you've had. So I have to trust you with my life at that point.
So it was your life that day.
Of
but
course.
you know, things nearly went ugly that day.
You can imagine.
Because the man we met that day, that we went to meet that did the evacuation, the man did it as PP.
Yes.
Instead of taking you into the hospital, just collected money from us, took you inside in like about 5 minutes, just brought you out and said I should be taking you home.
It was just God.
I will never forget that day. It was crazy.
It was just God.
You just told me that you wanted to go and use the toilet, and when you got there, something just dropped from your body.
Thank God you were following me behind.
I started picking fetus that had burst inside of you, and I was throwing it into the toilet, and you started bleeding profusely.
Remember that even when we got home, I almost died.
You nearly died. That was the day.